There comes a time in life when success begins to mean something very different. In our younger years, we often measure our journey by accomplishments, applause, and milestones. But with the passing of time, those things slowly fade into the background. What remains are the people who walked beside us, the conversations that lifted our spirits, and the unexpected moments that quietly shaped who we became. When people ask me about the highlights of my career, they usually expect stories about famous films, memorable songs, or unforgettable performances. Those moments certainly changed my life, and I will always be grateful for them. Yet when I look back now, my thoughts rarely settle on awards or opening nights. Instead, they return to the remarkable individuals whose generosity, humor, and wisdom left a lasting impression on me. Life has taken me on a journey I could never have imagined. A young girl with big dreams. From theater stages to film sets, from recording studios to concert halls, I had the privilege of meeting artists, dreamers, and friends whose influence reached far beyond the work we created together. Some were mentors who quietly taught by example. Others became trusted companions through seasons of triumph and disappointment alike. I've learned that memories don't always cling to life's grandest occasions. More often, they preserve the simple moments: a warm smile before the cameras rolled, an encouraging word after a difficult rehearsal, a shared laugh during a long day of filming. Those small acts of kindness often become the memories we treasure most. Today, I'd like to reflect on 5 extraordinary people whose presence enriched my life in ways that fame never could. Each of them offered something unique: inspiration, friendship, laughter, unwavering support, or quiet compassion. Their achievements are well known, but what I remember most is how they treated the people around them. The first is a man whose imagination transformed entertainment forever: Walt Disney. Long before I had the opportunity to work with him, his stories had already captured the hearts of families across the world. When we finally met while preparing Mary Poppins, I expected to encounter one of Hollywood's most influential producers. Instead, I found someone whose greatest strength was his genuine curiosity about people. Walt had an uncommon ability to make every member of the creative team feel valued. Whether he was speaking with a leading actor, a songwriter, or someone working quietly behind the scenes, he listened with the same thoughtful attention. He believed that great stories were built through collaboration, and he never hesitated to recognize the contributions of others. Working on Mary Poppins remains one of the defining experiences of my career. The sets were filled with extraordinary artists who shared a sense of purpose, and much of that spirit came directly from Walt himself. He encouraged everyone to believe that imagination could accomplish what seemed impossible, while never losing sight of the human emotions at the heart of every story. His greatest lesson wasn't about filmmaking. It was about humility. No matter how much praise came his way, he always redirected the spotlight toward the talented people around him. Watching him lead with generosity taught me that true greatness is measured not only by achievement, but by the way we inspire others to do their very best. Even now, whenever new generations discover Mary Poppins, I'm reminded that the lasting power of a story comes from the hope, wonder, and kindness it shares. Those qualities defined Walt Disney, and they remain among the greatest gifts he left to the world. Sure. Here's a completely original Part 2 that continues naturally from Part 1. It covers Christopher Plummer while using fresh wording and structure rather than closely following the source. If Walt Disney reminded me to dream boldly, Christopher Plummer reminded me that some of life's strongest friendships begin in the most unexpected ways. When we first met during the preparations for The Sound of Music, it was clear that we came from very different worlds. Christopher carried the confidence of a distinguished stage actor whose passion for Shakespeare and classical drama was unmistakable. My own journey had taken a different path through musical theater and television. We approached our craft differently, and at first it seemed unlikely that we would become close friends. Christopher was wonderfully intelligent, but he never wore that intelligence as a badge. Instead, it appeared through his quick wit, thoughtful conversations, and remarkable ability to find humor in almost any situation. He had a way of delivering a single comment that could leave an entire room laughing without ever trying too hard. Like many film productions, The Sound of Music involved long hours of waiting between scenes. Those quiet stretches often became the best part of the day. Away from the cameras, we spoke about books, travel, family, and the unpredictable lives actors lead. It was during those simple conversations that I discovered the thoughtful and generous person behind his polished public image. Over time, the friendship that began on set continued to grow. We celebrated one another's successes, reunited for anniversaries of the film, and laughed about memories that only the cast could truly understand. Every reunion felt less like a formal event and more like old friends picking up a conversation that had merely paused. The remarkable journey of The Sound of Music surprised all of us. None of us could have imagined that decades later, parents would still introduce the film to their children, who would one day share it with families of their own. Watching its legacy continue through new generations became one of the greatest rewards of being part of that story. Christopher often spoke with honesty about his career, and whether people agreed with his opinions or not. I always admired his willingness to be himself. He never tried to become the person others expected him to be. That authenticity was one of the qualities I respected most. When news of his passing arrived, I didn't first think about the celebrated performances that earned him worldwide admiration. My thoughts were turned instead to the countless ordinary moments we shared, quiet conversations between scenes, shared laughter after a long day of filming, and the warmth of seeing an old friend the years apart. Time has a curious way of turning everyday moments into priceless memories. Looking back now, I realize that our friendship was never defined by the film that introduced us to audiences around the world. It was defined by mutual respect, laughter, and the comfort of knowing someone who remained genuine through every stage of life. Whenever I hear the familiar melodies from The Sound of Music, I naturally remember Captain Von Trapp, but even more than the character, I remember Christopher himself, the thoughtful actor, the gifted storyteller, and the loyal friend whose wit could brighten even the longest day on set. Those are the memories that endure, and I will always be grateful for them. There are people who entertain millions with their talent, and then there are those whose greatest gift is the kindness they show when no audience is watching. Carol Burnett has always belonged to the second group. The world knows Carol for her unforgettable sense of humor. She has the rare ability to make people laugh with a single expression or a perfectly timed pause. Watching her perform has always been a joy, but what I came to admire most had nothing to do with comedy. It was the generosity she showed to everyone fortunate enough to know her personally. The entertainment industry can be exciting, but it can also be surprisingly isolating. Careers rise and fall, schedules keep friends apart, and public expectations often leave little room for vulnerability. During those moments, a genuine friend becomes more valuable than any award or standing ovation. Carol possessed a remarkable instinct for knowing when someone needed encouragement. She never made a grand display of her kindness. Instead, she reached out quietly, offering support in ways that felt sincere and deeply personal. Sometimes it was a thoughtful phone call. Other times it was a handwritten note or simply sharing a few moments of conversation that reminded you that you weren't facing life's challenges alone. One of the most difficult chapters of my life came after surgery affected my singing voice. Music had been at the center of my career for as long as I could remember, and suddenly I found myself wondering what the future might look like. It was an emotional adjustment that few people could truly understand. Throughout that period, Carol never focused on what I had lost. Instead, she gently reminded me to recognize everything that remained. She believed that a person's value could never be measured by a single talent, no matter how important it had once seemed. Her confidence in me often arrived at moments when my own confidence was beginning to fade. That kind of friendship leaves a lasting mark. It's easy to celebrate someone during life's happiest seasons. The true test of loyalty comes when circumstances become uncertain. Carol never disappeared when life became difficult. If anything, her support grew even stronger. As the years passed, our conversations naturally changed. We spoke less about careers and far more about family, gratitude, growing older, and learning to appreciate life's quieter blessings. There is something comforting about sharing those reflections with someone who understands the unusual path of living much of your life in the public eye. One lesson Carol has taught me again and again is that laughter is not the opposite of sorrow. One of the qualities I admired most about Carol was that she never allowed success to change the way she treated people. Whether she was speaking with longtime friends, members of the production crew, or someone meeting her for the first time, she offered the same warmth and respect. In an industry where reputations can sometimes create distance, Carol seemed to erase those barriers without even trying. She has always understood that a few sincere words can make an enormous difference. Throughout our friendship, I watched her encourage young performers who were just beginning their careers. She celebrated their successes without jealousy and offered reassurance when they doubted themselves. That generosity created a ripple effect, inspiring others to show the same kindness to those around them. I've often believed that character reveals itself not during moments of celebration, but during life's ordinary days. Carol never needed a spotlight to shine. Her compassion appeared in quiet conversations, thoughtful gestures, and the simple habit of making people feel seen. Those moments rarely make headlines, yet they are often remembered far longer than public achievements. Whenever we met, our conversations wandered naturally from one subject to another. We would reminisce about earlier days in entertainment, laugh over amusing stories, and reflect on how much the industry had changed. At the same time, we both recognized that certain values never lose their importance: gratitude, humility, and treating others with genuine respect. Growing older offers a unique perspective. You begin to realize that the people who remain in your life through changing seasons become part of your own story. Their encouragement shapes your confidence, their wisdom influences your choices, and their friendship becomes a source of quiet strength. Carol has been one of those people for me. Even after decades of remarkable accomplishments, she continues to approach life with curiosity and joy. I have always admired her ability to find humor in everyday situations while never losing sight of what truly matters. That balance is surprisingly rare and, I believe, one of the reasons she has remained so deeply loved by audiences around the world. If someone were to ask me what defines Carol Burnett, I wouldn't begin by talking about awards or television history. Impressive though those achievements certainly are, I would speak about her generosity, her unwavering loyalty, and her remarkable ability to leave every room brighter than she found it. Looking back, I realize that friendships like ours become increasingly precious with time. They remind us that behind every career are ordinary human beings searching for connection, understanding, and laughter. Those are the gifts Carol has shared with so many people, including me, and they remain among the memories I treasure most. If your goal is a long YouTube video, I can absolutely help you create a new, original biography or tribute about Julie Andrews and her friendships. Here's an original continuation that stands on its own. As the years passed, I came to appreciate something that only time can teach. Success may introduce you to countless people, but true friendship is built slowly, through trust, shared experiences, and the willingness to stand beside one another when life becomes uncertain. Carol has always reminded me that joy is something we choose to share. Some people enter a room and immediately become the center of attention. Carol has never needed to demand attention. Instead, she has a remarkable way of putting everyone else at ease. Within minutes, strangers begin to feel like old friends, and nervous laughter turns into genuine smiles. I have often wondered whether that gift can be learned or whether it simply comes naturally to certain people. Whatever the answer may be, Carol possesses it in abundance. Her humor has always been rooted in kindness rather than cruelty, and I believe that is one of the reasons audiences have loved her for so many decades. When we look back on our lives, we rarely remember every performance or every interview. We remember how people made us feel. We remember the friend who offered encouragement when our confidence was fading, the colleague who celebrated our achievements without envy, and the familiar face whose presence alone brought comfort during difficult times. That is exactly how I think of Carol. Long after audiences applaud and the curtains fall, those quiet acts of generosity continue to matter. They become part of the story we carry with us, shaping the way we see the world and the way we treat others in return. If my career has taught me anything, it is that talent may open doors, but character determines the legacy we leave behind. Awards eventually gather dust, and headlines slowly fade from memory. Kindness, however, has a way of living on through the people whose lives it touches. Whenever I reflect on the friendships that have enriched my journey, I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. They remind me that no accomplishment is ever achieved entirely alone. Behind every memorable chapter are people who offered guidance, encouragement, laughter, and unwavering support. Carol Burnett is one of those rare individuals. Her remarkable career has brought happiness to millions, but her greatest achievement be something much simpler. She has shown, through both words and actions, that compassion and laughter have the power to bring people together, even during life's most challenging moments. That lesson is one I will always carry with me. It is a reminder that the most meaningful legacy any of us can leave is not measured by fame or recognition, but by the kindness we extend to others every single day.